honestly found a fire truck toy that has been missing for a little while. So in case you can hear the siren in the background, that's him. But hello everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to another reading vlog. So for this week, we're going to be doing Fantasy Romance February. So technically, Fantasy Romance February is like through the whole month of February, but according to their calendar, the like readathon aspect of it starts today, Monday, February 7th, and goes through Sunday, February 13th. So that is what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be reading fantasy romance books exclusively, and I actually had you guys vote in a poll because of my TBR game which fantasy romance book you wanted me to read for sure. And the one that won on Instagram, like overwhelmingly, was Guild by Raven Kennedy. And then the second place winner on Instagram was Fantasy of Frost by Kelly St. Clair. And then on Twitter, Fantasy of Frost actually edged out Guild just by a little bit, but I did have more voters on Instagram than I did on Twitter. So I'm going to make Guild by Raven Kennedy my priority for this week. This I do actually have as an ebook, so that'll make it very easy for me. I can read it on my iPhone, I can read it on my iPad, that kind of stuff. And it's going to be fantasy romance, but a King Midas retelling. I know there's like 3 books currently out in this series, and I think a 4th book is going to be coming out, and I have heard nothing but good things. I do think it is going to be a little bit dark, and some of those darker ones can be hit or miss with me, but I'm very excited to try it out because I have read the Signs of Cupidity series by Raven Kennedy before and like really enjoyed those ones. Those are fantasy romance reverse harem books with a Cupid and then like a fantasy world. Like, I just really enjoyed those. Actually, I think a spin-off book in that series is coming out around Valentine's Day, and I'm sort of on a book buying ban, but I really loved those, so I'm not going to say I'm going to do it, but I might have to get that book. We'll see. But then I think what I'm going to do after I read Guild, I will pick up Fantasy of Frost by Kelly St. Clair. So this is going to be the first book in another fantasy romance. I think this one is new adults, and it's going to have something to do with frost, elemental magic. I actually don't know too much. It says, I know many things, what I am capable of, what I will change, what I will become, but there is one thing I will never know. The veil I've worn from birth carries with it a terrible loneliness, a suppression I cannot imagine ever being free of. My mother will always hate me, her court will always shun me. When the peace delegation arrives from the savage world of Glacium, my life is shoved wildly out of control by the handsome Prince Kendrick, who, for unfathomable reasons, shows me kindness. Sometimes it takes the world bringing you to your knees to find the spark you thought forever lost. Sometimes it takes death to show you how to live. Interesting. I still don't know if that necessarily tells me anything about the book, and I feel like that is sort of the common denominator with Kelly St. Clair's summaries, because I did actually read A Court of Honey and Ash last year in 2021, and that was a Kelly St. Clair and Shannon Mayer book. But again, the summary was very sort of vague on what the actual story was, but I did enjoy that one. It was another fantasy romance. But this one is one of Lana from Lore and Lullaby's like absolute favorites. She actually gifted this to me last year, and I just hadn't picked it up yet. It's not too long, so I think this will be a good one to read as well. And then if we have more time, the other book that I had on the poll that lost in both polls was Whispers of Shadow and Flame by Elle Penelope. I think part of the reason this lost is it is the second book of the Earth Singer Chronicles series, whereas the first one was Song of Blood and Stone right up here. I actually read this last Fantasy Romance February. Might have had a vlog on it actually. If I did, I will leave a link down below. But this one, I really loved the first one, like 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good, it hooked me. These are the thickest ones, I think, out of all the books that I polled. So we'll see if I can get to this, because I really love the first one and I definitely want to continue. This is a world where there are like 2 kingdoms separated by a magical veil. One side has magic, one side doesn't. It is very racial as well, exploring like racism and prejudice and that kind of stuff, and I just absolutely loved it. So yes. I also know I want to try to read a short story by Deanne Bren called A Better Fate, which I think is a sapphic romance between, I think, a nymph and a zombie, but it's very short. Like, I think Amazon said it's like 17 pages, but Goodreads says it's like 25, so it'll be very short. But again, I think this fits fantasy romance, and I want to read it because I love Deanne Bren's work. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to tell you guys for now, because that feels like quite a lot to read in 1 week. when I have been hit or miss with reading since I got pregnant. So yeah, today is Monday, like I mentioned before, and we're gonna be having like construction people and just workers in and out throughout the day. Last week I only ended up putting up one video because we had foundation piers replaced all along the back side of this house. That was like Monday through Thursday last week. It was super loud, lots of construction. They had an excavator and jackhammers and all this kind of stuff. Well, in order to do some of the piers back here by like our office area, they had to have the air conditioner people move our air conditioner units away from the wall because it's close to where the pier was back there. So we've actually had our air conditioner and heater off, completely disconnected since like Tuesday, so almost a whole week now. They're supposed to come today to replace those. The good thing is I'm in Arizona and it's winter, so like outside, the lowest it got was around like the 30s or 40s. Inside, we got down to low 60s, but it's not too crazy. Put on some pants, jacket, socks, blankets, we're good to go. We have them. We have another part of the foundation people coming to fix a stem wall, and then our, whatchamacallit, water softener thing stopped working before the construction people were here last week, but because they were here last week, we couldn't get that fixed last week, so they're coming today as well. We have like 3 different companies coming to fix things at our house today, so hopefully that means I'll get a lot of reading done, just because we can't leave the house because people are coming to do work. So yeah, I guess that's it for me for now. I will be starting Guild today, and I will let you guys know when I have an update. Okay, so it is much later in the day. It's like 4:30. I've read 15% of Guild, and it's very, like, I knew sort of what I was getting into. The fact that this is the King Midas retelling, and that our main character is almost Stockholm syndrome-y. Like, I don't know exactly if that's what I would call it, but that's the way it's feeling. I've read like 4 whole chapters. And it's basically, most of those are about her, and like she is gilded gold because it is King Midas, and she's like his favored possession. She lives in a cage, can't go anywhere, can't really be next to any other people like whatsoever. And she's like in love with him because her life could be worse. Like, it's not anything else besides there were so many bad things that happened when she was really young that she knows her life could be worse. So because he treats her not horribly, better than the other people that he uses for sex and stuff like that, she's in love with him. So I'm very curious where we're gonna go next, because like, how is that dynamic going to work? I don't know, but apparently it does. And then like I mentioned this morning, we were supposed to have like 3 different groups of people come in and work on stuff. Only one showed up. One of them they did call to reschedule because of a family emergency thing for the technician. It was a little bit late notice, but it was an emergency, so like that's fine. And then the other one just like never called us, never showed up, so we had to call the place, and they were like, oh, well, we don't actually have you on the schedule at all because of a permit thing. And I was like, no, we scheduled back in January for this. We have the confirmation email, we have everything. And they're like, oh, well, you're not on our schedule. So we had to reschedule that as well. And that's like rescheduled for like March. So, I mean, good thing is we didn't have a whole bunch of construction and like technician stuff coming in today. We only had one. They were here for hours, but the good thing, it was our air conditioner slash heater. So at least we now have those back online, which is good because it was getting a little chilly at night. Not too crazy. We all sleep in one bed, so like we can cuddle. Presley sleeps right next to me and he basically cuddles me all night anyway. So yeah, but I wanted to give you guys an update on Guild because I need to go edit. So I will probably be reading more later. It might be after dinner though, because I do need to go edit my video for tomorrow. Good morning and happy Tuesday. So I did actually read more of Guild last night. I'm currently at like 42%, and it's easy to read, but I'm not entirely sure how I'm feeling about it. And I think it's because we are in these sort of like political sphere a little bit in this fantasy world. We have different kingdoms and kings, and all of these kingdoms have to have a ruler that has some sort of magical power. So like obviously King Midas has the like golden touch, but I'm not really getting much from the rest of the characters. Like even our main character of Orin, who is gilded, she is gold. Like I sort of talked about her before. It feels sort of Stockholm syndrome-y, and it still really does. Like she is like absolutely in love with this guy, and I don't see why. Like he doesn't treat her the best, but because she feels like her life could be worse, then it's fine. And I don't even know where we're going with this story yet. So like I'm just sort of on the fence. Like I really don't know how I feel about it because I'm almost halfway through and I don't really see the romance in this fantasy romance. And I do know fantasy romances can sometimes have the romance take a little bit longer to get into it, but I feel like also I had such high hopes because people seem to love this, but also I did really love the Signs of Cupidity series that Raven Kennedy had done previously. Like that one definitely had a lot of fantastical fantasy elements, but it also had the romance. And yeah, so that's my update for now. Like I said, it is Tuesday. I'm going to be reading more. I might actually finish it today sometime, which actually would be great because I have other books that I want to read as well. But according to my Bookly app, I only have like a little less than 2 hours left. So if I read like maybe an hour or so this morning and then in the evening or finish it tonight in bed, that would be amazing. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm just sort of hit or miss with it. I know it sounds bad, but I don't know. Good morning and happy Wednesday. I think I'm like 76% of the way through Guild. I was fully intending to finish it last night. Like I have less than 40 minutes left to go, but I was too tired. Like literally as soon as we were getting Presley ready for bed, I decided to go to bed too. So I will have to finish that later today. We are having a doctor's appointment for today. I'm currently 19 weeks. And because we started doing everything like a week ahead of time, because my first appointment was like the week before Thanksgiving, we're having our like ultrasound, our anatomy scan, like the big thing that you usually have around 20 weeks. So we're getting ready to do that. We have to eat some breakfast. We have like 30-40 minutes before we need to leave the house, but that is what we're going to be doing. So yeah, I'm probably not going to read right away, but I will 100% finish the book today. And then I guess I haven't done any of these on social media lately just because I don't feel like I've been getting good pictures or anything, but should we see the baby bump? Probably, because there's definitely one there. If we go down, right here is definitely the bump. I want to say I started showing much earlier than with Presley. Like obviously I had pictures on Instagram with like Presley, and I think last week or the week before there was a point where it was like, oh, your baby is as big as like a Hershey's chocolate bar. And I took a picture because I saw that last time and was craving chocolate, like s'mores. I think I ended up making s'mores, and so I bought a chocolate bar so I could take a picture with it. And at that point, the baby bump looks barely non-existent in those old pictures, and yet at like week 11 almost, I feel like I could tell that my stomach was changing and my bump was growing. It wasn't one of those things that everybody else could tell necessarily, but like I could. And now that I'm 19 weeks, it is for sure there. Oh my gosh, it feels so much bigger than last time. And it is, but like I can just tell it feels like I'm further along in my pregnancy than I was before. But like I said, we do have that appointment this morning. Already running out of breath. That's the baby's fault. So yes, that'll be the first thing that we do. Hopefully I'll get some like video and stuff to show you guys just because I think it'd be cute. But yeah, I guess I will finish Guild when we come back home. Okay, so we are now home. It is almost 2 because it is also my mom's birthday and we took her some lunch and hung out for a little bit. We're all vaxxed, so don't worry about that. But I just wanted to say that our ultrasound and stuff was really, really good. I did have some clips that I showed you guys, but everything is growing the way they should be growing. We don't know the gender of the baby because we just decide, even with Presley, that we wanted to be surprised. So that's the only thing that we really didn't get to take a look at. Once they got down to that area, they just sort of said, hey, turn around. We will look at everything. Everything is looking good. We do have to go back in for a follow-up ultrasound in the next few weeks because baby was like curled up, had hands up here, and did not want to move. No matter how much they were like having me roll around or using the wand to like try and get a better picture like in the different areas. So I don't know exactly what things weren't like showing up perfectly for the anatomy scan, but apparently there was a couple things that we do need to go back in and just take a look at. But otherwise, heartbeat was great, heart was great. They're measuring exactly where they should be measuring. I know I've been feeling some like tiny little baby kicks and movements and stuff like that for the last few weeks actually. Sometimes they're high, sometimes they're low, but yeah, so all of that is great, which is good, but also because we did that and then took my mom lunch, I have not read yet. Presley is currently eating lunch now because whenever we go to my mom's house, he always gets so wrapped up in the dogs and everything there that he never eats. So he's going to be eating now. He took a nap in the car, so he actually might not nap today. And that's sometimes when I get reading done, is when he's napping. But I only have like less than 40 minutes left in Guild. So I think I'm going to make that a priority now. I might start my next book later tonight, but I will let you know my full thoughts on Guild as soon as I am finished. Okay, so I have officially finished Guild. I'm not entirely sure about it. I think personally for this first book in the series, I would give it 3.5 stars maybe. I was really leaning towards maybe 3 through most of my reading of this because of the fact that like it's not written bad. I liked the writing style. It was very easy to read, but the actual story part, I am seeing some of the fantasy elements. I'm not really seeing the romance that I was expecting. I have not read the summary in a while, so maybe it's something that comes in more in other books. I don't know, but I wasn't quite what I was expecting. I have heard recently actually from somebody that I follow, they follow me, that kind of thing, that they felt that book 1 was a little bit more of a slog to get through, but they really loved 2 and 3, and then 4 will be coming out soon-ish. Sometime this year, I'm pretty sure. So I'm wondering if that was the case with more people. Like, I haven't actually looked up the ratings in a while, so I'm just sort of curious. The ratings for this first book is an average of 3.68 on Goodreads, and that is sort of low, whereas like book 2 and 3 are both over 4 stars. So yeah, maybe this is just more of a setup type of book, which is not necessarily bad, but it wasn't quite what I was expecting. I did think from 80% onward to the end, so like the last 20%, really got interesting. We got a little bit more like reveals and backstory of the world and Oren as a character a little bit more, tiny bit more. But I did like that aspect of it. I will also say though, this book is quite dark in the fact that we do have sort of, I guess, content trigger warnings for things like non-consensual type of stuff, things that could be veering into rape territory, not exactly with our main character, but like in the world that she is in, and so it can get very brutal that way. But because I gave it 3.5, I'm not entirely sure how quickly I want to continue with the series because of the fact that I've heard that the first book is the slowest going and potentially the worst one in the series, and I did previously like a different series by Raven Kennedy. I think I will eventually continue, at least trying book 2. I just don't know exactly how quickly I will get into it, if that makes sense. So Presley is really into watching himself on my phone, and apparently he found where you can make like almost like a PowerPoint presentation sort of thing. He was watching one about the cats, but now he has one about him. So I'm gonna let him do that. But the next book I will be picking up is Fantasy of Frost by Kelly St. Clair. This is another one that I don't really know too much. I think I read the summary at the beginning of this vlog, but it's very vague, and that is what I've encountered with Kelly St. Clair in the past. Very vague sort of summaries, but I do definitely want to read it. I love this cover. Like, this cover is gorgeous, and because Lana loves it, I definitely need to pick it up. So because this one was the second one in the polls, slash technically one first on Twitter, but like not by much, I'm going to be reading this next. It is currently about 3, so I actually don't know if I'm going to start this right away. Depends on what Presley wants to do, but I will be starting this today or tonight. So I will let you guys know how this is going once I get started. Watch out. Good morning and happy Thursday. So I did not read any of Fantasy of Frost last night. After I had finished Guild, I had every intention to, but I decided I needed a break. And then because we were out earlier in the day, Presley had a nap in the car, which means he asked for his actual nap at like 6. So I let him sleep for almost an hour until dinner, and then we had dinner, and then I was way too tired, so I did not read that. However, I did actually read A Better Fate by D.N. Bryn. This is the short story that I was talking about earlier in the week, and I did want to read something, but I didn't bring the book Fantasy of Frost upstairs with me, and I did have my iPad because I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do, so I did read on that. It's like 17 to 25 pages. I don't actually know exactly which one, but there are both of those out there, the page numbers, and let me tell you, this story is like exactly what it bills it to be, a sapphic fantasy romance with a zombie and a nymph, but at the same time, I didn't really know what to expect besides that, and it was beautifully written. I absolutely love the story. I mean, the reason I picked this up, one, it was free. It might still be free on Amazon, I'm not entirely sure, but because it's so short, if it's not free, it's like $1. But I loved Our Bloody Pearl by D.N. Bryn that I read last year. Like, it was one of my top books of the year. I just absolutely love their writing style. I love the characters, and even though the story is so short, I just absolutely loved it. Like, it hooked me from the get-go, and I had to devour the whole story. I mean, it was short, which was great, but like, I did not want to not read it. Like, it was so good. I actually could see this being as like characters that could potentially pop up in other work by D.N. Bryn, because I don't think it's at all connected to their previous work, but I absolutely loved it. So yeah, I actually feel like this was the perfect like short fantasy romance, and I'm definitely glad I read it last night because I felt like I needed to do something for today because I didn't read any Fantasy of Frost last night. That is my goal for today. I don't know if I'm planning on finishing it today. I guess it depends on how quickly the book feels like it's going by. But that is my goal, is to at least start it and get into it, because today's Thursday. We're about halfway through the week now, if we count that I did like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday left. Like, today is that middle day. So yeah, that's my goal. We're gonna read Fantasy of Frost today. Okay, so while I'm cooking breakfast, I know I introduced today already, and I have not read anything yet because it's only been like 30 minutes maybe. I just decided I needed to come over here and vent. I don't usually do this too much in vlogs, especially because it's just like a life thing, but like, we're gonna be venting. So I know I talked about on Monday how we were supposed to have like 3 different like contractor, engineer, like work going on in the house, and we only ended up having 1 come. One of them we had to reschedule because we found out the problem was a little bit different than we thought and had to schedule an electrician to come before we can get the water fixed. But the other problem was our foundation stuff. All last week we had foundation work going on with the piers under the house, and we have some more work to do. But we had, you know, big old like construction things. They had a little excavator, they had the jackhammers, we had all this stuff going on. Well, we were supposed to have 3 different foundation works on the house. We got one done last week. One of them had to be rescheduled until the end of next month because one of the people has COVID. Then they couldn't come over, obviously, and work on that. And then the last one was supposed to be on Monday, and they didn't have us on the schedule. However, we scheduled everything in January. We got the confirmation email. We weren't on the schedule. Okay, fine, it's annoying, whatever. We rescheduled it. This morning, my husband gets a phone call saying, I'm sorry, the work you were supposed to have done today can't get done. I know this is late notice, but let's reschedule. And I was like, we never had anything scheduled for today. Even previously, before we had things rescheduled, we never had anything scheduled for today. So we call, and we're talking to the person who called us, who was CC'd on the email with the new schedule. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we found your thing. By the way, because we were checking everything, the thing that we got you rescheduled for a month and a half later at the end of March, one of our equipments are now potentially not working, and so we might have to reschedule you again because everybody else that is scheduled in front of you, we want to get them done first. I'm now frustrated because we were scheduled for Friday. This is the project that was supposed to be this Friday, and they already rescheduled us a month and a half later. So they were like, oh, well, we need to get everybody in February done. Technically, we were in February. You already rescheduled us, but now that it's a slightly different problem, you're going to put everybody else before us in priority, even though we probably were before them. Like, I'm pretty sure this is the COVID thing. They probably just rescheduled the like 2 weeks or whatever that they were having their person out with COVID to the end of March, the end of the schedule. But now that it's a slightly different problem, they want to make sure that they get all of them done first. Just fucking reschedule them like you did us. Like, why are you telling us right now that, one, you don't know if you're actually going to have to reschedule us. This is a maybe, but you want to let us know early enough because obviously the last couple times you've had to reschedule, you didn't let us know. We had to call you, or you didn't tell us until the day of today, even though we had nothing going on today. But so you rescheduled us a month and a half out to the end of your schedule. But now that you have a slightly different problem, you're keeping everybody on the same schedule. You might have to reschedule us, but you're not entirely sure. But like, we originally were in February, the beginning of February, February 11th. It was supposed to be tomorrow. But now you're saying you might have to move us to like April or something because the other people are a higher priority. I don't get it, and I'm frustrated because technically, if you were going to do that in the first place, you should have just done that with us. Just move everybody back. Or if you're having an issue, reschedule the people that are currently having an issue to behind us, because we were already on the schedule since January for early February, and now we're at the end of March, like March 20 something, like at the very end of March, almost March 30th. And now you might have to reschedule us to further. I'm just very frustrated. Okay. I am cooking breakfast and it's slowly getting going. So that's it. I'm just frustrated.
But also here's my breakfast because it just looks very, very pretty. And yes, I am that millennial that sometimes we do avocado bread. We don't actually toast it, but it's like a really nice bread. Avocado, fried egg with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and then I have a coffee that halfway, I mean, I love them, but now that I'm pregnant, sometimes it makes me not feel that great, but I wanted it anyway.
So I have just started reading Fantasy of Frost. I'm a little confused about how the worlds work. They had a character try and explain it to her younger siblings, and I think I'm still confused. But so far, love the writing style. I'm definitely getting into it. I haven't read much yet, but I'm back because I'm frustrated with this construction stuff. So apparently there is someone coming today. They just called, so they'll be here in like half an hour to do our stem wall, which, I mean, great, we're gonna get stuff done, but That was the phone call that we got earlier from the scheduling department this morning saying that nobody was coming today, and we were never on the schedule for today anyway, so somebody's coming that we weren't expecting. 100% not expecting. Adulting is so hard. This is like the thing that was supposed to be done on Monday that eventually got rescheduled to next month. But the scheduling is apparently not what it should be. I'm just, I'm so confused. Oh, he's also listening to animal sounds. Okay, so it is noonish. We're gonna be stopping reading for lunch, but I've gotten about 40 something pages in, really enjoying it so far. So besides the fact that I'm still not entirely sure how the worlds work, because it's like there's an ice world and a fire world, and they're sort of connected at one point, and they rotate, but they rotate opposite to each other. Like that, I'm fine with. But in the fire world, if you're completely opposite the ice world, it like everything burns. And then they talked about how they have their crops in a certain section, but like it completely rotates. So I don't know if they rotate the crop section sometimes too. It's just, I'm a little bit confused about that. But besides that, really loving the writing style, really getting into the story. Our main character is Olena, who is basically like the princess of the fire world. Once her mother passes on, she should be the heir to the throne. However, her mother basically hates her, and we don't know why yet. She has to wear this veil over her face, and if anybody sees her, her mother like will either kill them, or I think now she's even threatened to like kill her like brother that she loves. Like just all this kind of stuff going on, and I'm so like, why? Like I'm interested to see why. And then we do also have a visiting delegation from the ice world, where there is Prince Kendrick. He's like second in line to the throne of the ice world, and it seems like they sort of like each other, and so I'm very curious about that. And then the only other thing I did want to mention so far is that Olena, not only does she have to wear this like veil over her head, but it appears that she is vision impaired, like so much so that like she can't really see things unless they're right in front of her face. Everything is very blurry. She has to rely on some of her other senses to actually figure things out. Like I'm so cool with that. Like I absolutely love that fact, because like I wear glasses. It seems like in this world they just don't have that. But like if I wasn't wearing my glasses, I'm blind. Like I can't see even the top big E on the letter chart. My eyesight is so bad that I feel like if I didn't have glasses, I would be like her. Like I feel like my vision would be as bad as her vision is. And so I just am really appreciative of that fact. So yeah, that's where I am so far. I don't quite know where we're going next, because the summary didn't really give us a whole lot of stuff on that. But again, I'm really enjoying it because the writing style is great. It is very easy to read. The text in this printed version is quite small, so I do feel like even though it's only like 240 something pages, it probably is like a 300 something page book if we were going with like maybe like the e-reader version, that kind of thing, just because the font is so small. But really enjoying it. So like I said, we're gonna have lunch and then I will definitely be reading more of this.
Mommy sing.
Mommy sing. Oh, I love my pretty baby, sweet and precious pretty baby. Oh, I love my pretty baby, honest to goodness I do.
Bowl.
You want a bowl?
Yeah.
and happy Friday. So as you saw, I have already eaten breakfast. I did a cappuccino chocolate chip muffin that I'm pretty sure I've talked about on this channel in some capacity before, but I think it's been a while because it has been a while since I made them. But it's a recipe from a book series. I will leave the recipe link down below as well, but I did read over half of this yesterday, and I don't think I ever like came back and told you more. I don't know how much more I can tell you because I'm more than halfway in. We're definitely getting into like some plot and stuff, but our main character of Olena is now currently in the ice world instead of her hot world. The ice world is called like Glacium, and we still don't quite know why she has to wear a veil, but there is something going on with her face or her eyes or like something where like we've had somebody look at it and be like, do not take off your veil, but like we don't know why. So I'm very curious if that's going to hopefully pull up by the end of this book, because I know this is a series, but I feel like that's one of those mysteries that I would want to have some sort of answers by the end of this. However, I am really enjoying the story. I love the writing style. I think I really liked the writing style of the last Kelly St. Clair that I read. They're very easy to get into. Like, it's that kind of writing style that has nothing like super flowery or anything. It's very cut and dry, like here's what's going on, but it's full of emotion too. Like I'm just really enjoying it. And because I have less than half left, I will definitely be finishing it today. It is a little bit slower going than some other books, and that's something I think I mentioned yesterday as well, because of the fact that this is the printed version. The text size is quite small, and so even though I'm reading technically less than 300 pages, it's like 260 something I think total. It feels like it's taking much longer. Like, I have the Bookly app that sort of tracks my reading speed and tells me how much more time I have left, and out of all the things that I've read in February, this is the one that I'm reading the slowest, and I think it's just because the text size is so small, but I am really enjoying it. And because I'm gonna finish it today, that means I should hopefully, crossing my fingers, even though it's hard to do with holding a book, I should be able to read another book by the end of this vlog. So yeah, that is the goal for today. We're gonna finish this. Okay, so it is actually almost noon, almost lunchtime, and I have officially finished Fantasy of Frost. I think I'm going to give it like 4.5. Because I really did enjoy this book. There's not necessarily anything wrong with it, but the further I got into like the second half of the book, I was feeling that it was a little bit more, I don't know, it felt expositional a little bit. Like, we weren't really getting a whole lot of like actual like, here is a big plot. We did get a lot of like Olena in Glacium and like her relationships with people, and I did find a lot of it interesting. I love the writing style, that kind of thing, but I was sort of wishing for just slightly more plot. We do eventually find out why she has to wear the veil, so I was glad we at least got that payoff, and I'm really looking forward to more in the series. I think there are 4 books total, and so this was book 1. Again, covers in general in this series are gorgeous, and I definitely need to continue. So yes, another book down. And then, because it is Friday, not even afternoon on Friday, morning of Friday, I do think I'll be getting to Whispers of Shadow and Flame by Elle Penelope. This is another one that I really wanted to get to that I mentioned before, because I read the first book last year when I did this vlog. So this is the second book in the series, and I probably won't pick it up right away because we're gonna have to do lunch, put Presley down for a nap eventually, but I definitely want to get to this, and I have like 2.5 days to read, so I feel like this is doable, even though this is one of the longer books for this week.
Are you playing with your blocks?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Cow.
Is there a cow in there? There is a cow in there. Silly cow. What does the cow say?
Moo.
Moo. Oh, your baby rattle? You loved that when you were little. You go shake, shake, shake.
Shake, shake, shake.
Yeah. We haven't had this bucket out in a while. This was back in that corner, like during Christmas. We had a Christmas tree here, and then his basketball hoop was in front of it. So this I pulled out today because he wanted his blocks. He was watching a video on my phone while I was reading of himself as a baby playing with blocks. So I pulled it out for him, and now he's finding all these things he has not found in a while. What's that?
Cat.
A cat? What does a cat say?
Meow.
Meow. Speaking of cats. Got a sleepy one right here. Hi, Magic. Sleepy, sleepy kitty. Yeah.
So it is now 6 o'clock. I have not read anything else today. Instead, I ended up watching all 5 available episodes of Love is Blind Season 2. These sort of like Netflix dating show type of things are my, I guess if we're gonna say anything is a guilty pleasure, that is it, because I don't normally watch this kind of stuff. But I have been watching a lot of this kind of stuff lately. So like Love is Blind, Too Hot to Handle, Love Island, although I don't think Love Island is Netflix, but like those kind of things. So yeah, I did that instead. Leon is going to end up picking up some Indian food for us tonight since Friday is our takeout night, and I am gonna read this. I'm hoping to start actually like right now when he goes to pick up food, but yeah, I just sort of thought I should give you an update because I wasn't productive in my reading. I don't even necessarily think I can say I was productive in other things because I literally just ended up watching 5 episodes in the background while Presley plays with his blocks like he's been doing all day. He's been very into the blocks today. So yeah. Okay. I think you can hear Presley yelling all done. Daddy's cleaning him up because we just finished dinner. But I did want to inform you that I actually did get about 45 pages of this read before dinner. And so far, we're just sort of getting into the story. This is sort of how I felt at the beginning of the first book as well, because each chapter is sort of following a different person. I think we have 3 or 4 like main characters that we're gonna follow in this one. I don't actually remember exactly how many, but we're slowly getting into their story and where they are. The biggest thing that I am noticing so far is this is taking place solely in Lagrimar right now, and the first book basically took place solely in El Sira. So those are the 2 warring countries, and so that's very interesting. Also though, one of the characters in here that we are following now as a main character was mentioned in the first book, and it looks like this is starting to take place before the first book started. So I feel like a lot of this is probably going to overlap and have this be like a concurrent story more than a sequel. Like I knew this series is comprised of a lot of like, not necessarily companion novels, but they are all set in the same world. I didn't realize that this was like at the same time and not like a direct sequel, but I'm not mad at it because we are getting more backstory into like at least that one person that was mentioned in the first book. The other main characters, I have no idea who they are or anything about them yet. But yeah, so 45 pages in. I might read more tonight. I might be too tired to read more tonight. We will see, but we still have the whole weekend.
Light blue, green, yellow, another yellow, orange, red, pink, and another pink. You're right. Cool. So smart.
and happy Saturday. So it's actually almost noon now. It's still morning, but almost noon. I obviously have not read anymore since I talked to you guys yesterday, and as you've seen, we were a little bit busy this morning. I'm about halfway through my pregnancy. I say about because of the fact that, like, technically you're halfway done at 20 weeks. However, I'm gonna end up having a C-section a little bit before that just because I'm having a scheduled one. It's not scheduled yet, but it will be. And so currently I'm at like 19 and a half weeks, and I will end up having the C-section probably in like another 19 and a half weeks. So I'm like halfway done, and this is around the same time that I started doing Presley's baby blanket. I doubt he even knows that it's his baby blanket because like he has never really used it. We did use it when he was really little, especially like to put on the floor for tummy time and stuff, but he's never really used it. This is his baby blanket. We didn't know what sex he was until he was born because that's just like what we do, and that's what we're gonna do with this new baby as well. But it's this. It's like cream and white and tan and purple. So I wanted something that was gonna be very, very similar, and as you saw, we did go to Michael's and I got this one. So it's the same yarn. This is the Bernat baby blanket yarn, and instead of being purple, it's like a tealish, and I say tealish because it is like a green, a little bit more than blue. I think teal is probably the best word for it, but it is the same kind of yarn. So it is the whitish cream with the beige and then teal. I think this is going to be adorable, especially since, like I said, we're not going to know the sex beforehand. And then we also got some letters to put up on the wall because, again, we did Presley's name before I had him, although technically with him we had two different names and some of those letters were shared, and I just painted everything based on those two names, and then depending on what he was, that's what we chose the name Presley for. This time we have one name that we're going to use with either sex because it is gender neutral, and I just love the name. And so yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We have letters. I got new paints as well, but that was part of our errands this morning, and now it's gonna be about lunchtime, so that means hopefully I will read more this afternoon because I did not read anything yet today. I am looking forward to getting back into it though, but yeah, I just had to show off the cute yarn that we decided to pick. Yeah, so teal this time instead of purple, but they make good baby blankets. Like these, it's quite big as well. I'm gonna have to use this as like my measurements for the other one. Can we see? I don't even think you can see the whole thing, but it's a very nice soft yarn because I don't like the scratchy kinds at all, and so yes. Okay, so it is now almost 6. I will probably be having to cook dinner soon, but I did get over 200 pages into Whispers of Shadow and Flame. So I'm not quite halfway there, but we're getting there. Like if you look, we're getting there. I'm probably gonna have to read more tonight, especially since I do want to finish this sometime tomorrow to make this a week-long reading vlog. But yeah, this so far, I think we've finally gotten up to the point where book 1 sort of starts, because this was sort of taking place before that. Like we knew based on one of the characters that some of the events that they talked about in book 1 we hadn't really gotten to, and when I say events, like we didn't really get to know what was going on here in Lagrimar before the start of book 1, but we did hear about one of the characters that is a main character. We also have 3 major like main points of view and then like a 4th sort of side character, and we are slowly getting them all together. So we have a couple different groups now, and I am still liking this. I like the writing style and everything. However, I feel like I'm not entirely sure what the like main goal of this book is going to be. The main goal of the first book was to try to prevent the mantle, the magical veil between the two kingdoms, from breaking down and having like one of the evil rulers come in and try and like start a war. And so it was very much like quest oriented basically. It is fantasy romance, so in the first book we did have fantasy and romance, and I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of that here. The romance aspect, it's definitely like a political fantasy sort of thing as well, but I'm not seeing that sort of like major plot point or goal that they're striving for. I am liking the characters, I'm liking the writing style. I'm just not entirely sure, like, what we're doing with this book. Like, is there a main goal that we're trying to go towards? I also don't know how far this is going to go into with book one, because of the fact that we're almost halfway through and we've basically gotten to the start of book one. So we have that whole book that we could take to catch up. I actually don't remember a ton of book one, like all the little bits and details. Like I remember like the overall plot points. So we'll see as I get more into this. But like I said, it's getting a little bit later. I'm probably gonna have to do dinner. And so yeah, almost halfway through. Almost. I really wish I'm halfway through. Almost halfway through. I will probably read more tonight once Presley goes to bed. Okay, so it is now Sunday at almost 5 p.m., but I did finish Whispers of Shadow and Flame by Elle Penelope. I didn't film anything really today because I was mostly focused on actually finishing this because I did not read anything extra last night. I really, really wanted to, but again, by the time I went to bed, I was just so tired that I did not even read in bed, even though I brought it upstairs with me. And so this morning, I think my Bookly app actually said I had like 3 hours and 40 minutes left in this book. I don't actually think it took me that long to finish it, but I read for like an hour this morning. We had lunch and stuff. I read during Presley's nap time, and I just finished it now as well. So, oh, hi. Presley's coming to sit with me. I did finish this one, and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. Gotta sit down, mommy's talking. Thank you. Because this book, like I said before, is, oh yeah, he's playing with his Mega Bloks cars and putting actual Mega Bloks in there too. But like I said before, this book does take place like during the same sort of time as book one, and I don't think I liked that as much. I did like the characters, and I'm glad that we had the character points of views that we did. Thank you, baby. And so I liked getting to know them, especially since I do feel like they're going to have some plot points in like books 3 or 4 that we're definitely going to need. Like, I'm glad we got introduced to them. And so like that actual part was pretty good. We got to see the actual goings-ons in Lagrimar, since the first book basically takes place 100% in El Sira. But one thing, because it takes place during the same sort of time, good job, put it down. Because it takes place during the same sort of time, there's no like climax in this book. The ending of this book is basically the ending of the first book. We get the climax in the first book, and then these people sort of get told about what happened. And so I feel like that part of it was a little bit of a letdown, but overall, writing style, characters, and stuff like that, I do really like Elle Penelope's stuff. So 4 stars. And yeah, this is going to be the end of the Pharaoh Feb Fantasy Romance February reading vlog. So I actually read 4 things, and in order from, I guess, worst to best, just because nothing was like bad necessarily, but my lowest rated was Guild by Raven Kennedy. And as I mentioned before, I do think this is one of those things that I might want to continue in the series with, because I've heard books 2 and 3 are a lot better. There wasn't as much romance in the first book. It was definitely like a fantasy type of thing, and some things I felt like got better near the end of the story than at the beginning of the story, but I would have liked to sort of have that be quicker so that we could get into, thank you, so that we could get into what was actually going to happen, I guess, like in the second book, the parts where we're supposed to have some romance going on. My 3rd place spot was my 4-star read of Whispers of Shadow and Flame. Did I mention Guild was 3.5? I don't remember. But 4 stars for Whispers of Shadow and Flame. Everything that I just said is exactly what it was. Then I have 4.5 stars for Fantasy of Frost by Kelly St. Clair. This one, again, really, really enjoyed the writing style. I have so far only read 2 things by Kelly St. Clair, but nothing has been lower than a 4. Like, I do really enjoy the writing style and the characters. I just sort of wished that there was a little bit more, like, actual plot going on in the second half, because it felt like we ended in not like a cliffhanger of like, oh my gosh, we're right in the action, but we did end at a point where I feel like we could have gotten a little bit more in this book and we would have had a bigger plot going on. And then my 5-star read was my shortest book, like 25 pages total, which was A Better Fate by Dee and Bryn. I absolutely love this one. This one I do feel like focused more on the romance than the fantasy. Every other book that I read this week was definitely more fantasy focused, even though they are technically fantasy romances. There was romance in Fantasy of Frost. Didn't really see romance in Guild. There was romance in Whispers of Shadow and Flame. But this one I feel like was definitely like a romance story, and then it had fantasy elements because we did have the sapphic romance between a zombie and a nymph. But I just really loved, again, the writing of it. I feel like this story, out of all the ones that I read this week, was a little bit more poetic because of probably how short it was, but I love Dee and Bryn's writing style. I love the emotions that it makes me feel with the characters that it has in the story, and so even though this was very, very short, I loved it. Perfection. Like, it was so, so good. So yeah, this vlog, it's probably gonna be really, really long. I think this is the first time I've read actually like full 4 books, even though I know like the Dee and Bryn one was short. But usually I can read like 2 to 3 in a week. Like, this feels like it's been a while since I've been able to actually pull out this many books in a week. And so I was very proud of myself, but that means this is probably a longer vlog, especially since we actually had some things going on this week too. Going to get my ultrasound and then going to Michael's and that kind of stuff. Like, we had a lot of stuff going on this week. So I'm sorry if it is very long, but I feel like overall I had a good reading experience. Nothing was lower than a 3.5, and for me that's pretty good. I'm very happy with it. So if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. I will be having more reading vlogs out in the future, hopefully at least one a month, and I will see you guys in the next one.